I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I just opened my husband's laptop to send a quick email to my stepson's teacher, but what I found changed everything. Dozens of strange folders, random codes, and inside them, photos of him with her, naked, smiling, like they had nothing to hide. That's when I realized my husband had a secret life. I wasn't looking for dirt. I wasn't out to uncover a secret. I wasn't suspicious or paranoid or even thinking anything was wrong. I was just trying to send a simple email to my stepson's teacher, something my husband asked me to do, actually. He said he'd been too busy at work and that I could use his laptop since mine was dead. Totally normal, completely innocent. So I opened it up. It wasn't password protected. He never locks it. I've used it before. No big deal. But this time, when the screen lit up, there was something different. Right there on the desktop were folders. Not just one or two, dozens, at least 50, all arranged neatly in rows, and the names, they didn't make any sense. Stuff like a P25, JX47, DE24, CPLF. Random combinations of letters and numbers, no labels like taxes or work or photos, nothing that gave away what was inside. It felt strange, like walking into a room in your house you've never noticed before. Familiar, but wrong. I could have ignored it. Really. I sat there staring at the screen for a full minute, telling myself, just send the email, don't click. It's none of your business. But something in me, it wasn't even fear yet, more like a buzz. Something told me to look. So I opened one. Just one. And what I saw inside made my heart drop straight into my stomach. It wasn't work files. It wasn't harmless. It was a folder full of photos. And not just any photos. Photos of my husband, naked, with another woman. Inside those folders were more folders, dozens, stacked inside each other like Russian nesting dolls. Click after click after click, it felt endless. Like some twisted digital maze he'd built to keep things hidden. Each new folder opened another level, another locked door, another boundary I never even knew existed in our marriage. And then I found them. Initially, it was just a few photos, then more and more. Dozens, no hundreds, pictures of him, my husband, completely naked, with a woman I had never seen before in my life, blonde, tattoo on her shoulder, wearing lingerie in some and wearing nothing in most. These weren't old. These weren't grainy screenshots or recycled images from before we met. These were new, sharp, high resolution, taken with purpose, with care, with planning. They weren't just nudes, they were posed. He was smiling, she was smiling. They looked comfortable, familiar, like they'd done this more than once. Then I found the videos. That's when I stopped breathing. I clicked on one without thinking, my finger moving before my brain caught up. It started playing full volume. I fumbled to mute it, but it was too late. The sound had already hit me like a punch. It was them, together, in our bed. I recognized the headboard, the sheets, the stupid poster on the wall I'd bought for our anniversary. It was like being electrocuted. My body couldn't move. My mouth went dry. My vision blurred. I was sweating and freezing simultaneously. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the mouse. I paused the video. But it didn't matter. The images were burned into my brain. Forever. Him, laughing, whispering, touching her like he used to touch me, stroking her hair and looking into her eyes. And it hit me like a freight train. This wasn't casual. This wasn't a hookup. This was intimacy. This was the time. This was deliberate. And suddenly the room around me felt like it was closing in. The kitchen, the laptop, the cheap light bulb flickered overhead. All of it felt surreal, like I had fallen into someone else's life. Except it was mine. My marriage, my home, and my husband, living a secret life, recording his infidelity, organizing it into folders, hiding it in plain sight. I thought I'd feel rage, but in that moment, all I felt was a sick, hollow nausea in the pit of my stomach, because this wasn't new, this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was something he'd built over time, and I had no idea. He had a whole life happening right under my nose, and he never once slipped up. until now, and I finally saw him for what he really was. Here's the worst part. I couldn't just slam the laptop shut, pack a bag, and leave. I couldn't storm out and disappear like in the movies. That kind of freedom, I didn't have it. Because I'm a stay-at-home mom. I've been home full-time since my daughter was born. She's 4 now, beautiful wild curls, always asking, why, about everything. The kind of kid who believes you when you say the moon follows her car. My whole world. And I've given everything to raise her. But that also means I don't have a job, I don't have an income, I don't even have a savings account in my own name. Every single bill, every subscription, every grocery run, it all comes from him. His card, his account, his rules, the house, his name, the car, also his. He even changed the online banking passwords a year ago and never gave them back to me. Said it was for security, and I didn't argue. Back then, I thought he was just being careful. Now I know better. He was being strategic. He didn't just want to be the provider. He wanted to be the one holding all the strings. The deeper I sit in this mess, the more it all falls into place. How I stopped seeing my old friends after we moved too far away. How he convinced me that daycare was too expensive and no one raises kids right except their own mothers. How he said my last attempt at a remote job was too much stress for the house. And how we don't need the money anyway. Little things, small enough to excuse at the time, but stacked together, it's a pattern, and that pattern looks a hell of a lot like control, financial control, emotional control, isolation disguised as protection, love weaponized as a leash. I used to tell myself I was lucky, that he worked so I didn't have to, that I got to spend every moment with our daughter while he handled the hard stuff. But now, sitting here with my stomach in knots and my hands still trembling from what I saw on that screen, I realized it wasn't luck, it was a trap. And I walked right into it, eyes wide shut, because now I'm stuck in his house, driving his car, with no money, no job, no nearby family, and a little girl depending on me to be calm while I'm falling apart inside. He built this life for us. But now I see he built it for himself, so he could do whatever he wanted while I stayed exactly where he wanted me, powerless. You know what really scares me? It's not just what he did, it's how normal he still acts. He still wakes up every morning, kisses me on the forehead, and says, "Don't forget to take the chicken out of the freezer," like we're just another married couple going through the motions. He still helps our daughter pick out her clothes, still tucks her in at night, and still laughs at cartoons with her as if nothing is broken. He looks me in the eye and tells me he loves me. Then he leaves, probably to meet her, or to edit another folder, or to record something new to file away in his disgusting archive of betrayal. And I have to pretend I believe him. That's the worst part, the pretending. Because now that I know the truth, every smile, every hug, every word he says feels like poison. It's all fake, a performance, a mask. And yet, he's still comfortable. He still walks around this house like he owns the world, like there aren't hundreds of pictures and videos of him cheating on his wife on the very laptop sitting 5 feet from our family photo. The audacity of it, the confidence. He's gotten so used to living this double life that he doesn't even try to hide it anymore. He records it, stores it, organizes it, like trophies, like souvenirs, and he left it there for me to find. Or maybe he thought I never would. Perhaps he thought I was too small, too naive, too stuck ever to look twice. And honestly, for a while, he was right, because he made sure I had nothing. No job, no money, no one close enough to call. He made me depend on him entirely, and then built a secret world behind my back, knowing I couldn't afford to walk away. He played me. But now, I'm done being played. As much as I wanted to scream, to confront him, to throw the laptop at his face and demand answers, I didn't. Because I couldn't. This isn't just a man who cheated. This is a man who controls everything. He's physically stronger, he's financially smarter, he's emotionally manipulative, and if I go to war with him unprepared, he'll win, he'll twist the story, he'll say I snooped, that I invaded his privacy, that I've gone crazy, And somehow, some way, I'll end up begging him to let me stay. So I kept quiet. I smiled when I needed to smile. I cooked dinner like always. I played the role of the oblivious wife while my mind raced behind the scenes, and I started building my exit quietly. The first thing I did was copy the folder. Every photo, every video, every disgusting file, I dragged it all onto a USB drive I had lying around. Then I hid the drive inside one of my daughter's stuffed animals, one she never plays with anymore, just in case. If he ever found out I knew, at least I'd have evidence, proof, something to keep me safe. Next, I started researching. Not on our home Wi-Fi, too risky. I walked to the library, used their computers. I searched for local women's shelters, transitional housing programs, and financial abuse resources. Anything that might give me a path forward. I made lists, printed them out, folded them into the back of a cookbook. I applied for jobs, just small ones, receptionist gigs, retail, anything. I created a Gmail account he didn't know about, used the library Wi-Fi to send out resumes. I even called a community support hotline, pretending it was for a friend. I inquired about housing, childcare, and the expected wait time for assistance. And through all of it, I never let on. I still said good night, I still did the dishes, I still let him think I was his puppet. But every day I laid another brick, a secret foundation, a way out. Because I might not have power at the moment, but I have something else, a plan. People think you need bruises to prove you're afraid, but sometimes it's the quiet things that scare you the most. Like the way he slams the fridge door just a little too hard when he's angry, or how he gets eerily quiet right before he yells. He says, "You should be grateful," when he hands you money for groceries. He never forgets anything you do wrong, but expects his mistakes to vanish without discussion. He's never laid a hand on me. However, I've seen him lose his temper over small things, like the thermostat being too low, or the car having less than half a tank of gas. One time, I dropped his favorite mug, and he didn't talk to me for 3 days, just stared, just fumed. That silent anger, that rage behind his eyes when he doesn't get his way, it's enough to freeze me in place. That's why I can't confront him, not yet. Currently, I have no backup plan, no apartment, no steady income, no guarantee I can protect myself or my daughter if he explodes. And the most terrifying thing, I don't know what he's capable of when cornered. Because when you take away power from someone who's used to having control, they don't always let go quietly. So for now, I keep pretending. I smile when he tells a bad joke. I kiss him on the cheek when he leaves for work. I ask about his day. I make sure dinner's ready. I keep things normal. But every night, when he's snoring beside me, dead to the world, I'm not sleeping. I'm researching, reading, applying, plotting. I'm creating documents, saving job listings, and practicing what I'll say when I finally leave, because I know something he doesn't. This isn't forever. And when I do walk out that door, it's going to be final. No arguments, no working it out, no second chances, just freedom. When I first posted my story online, I didn't expect anything. I was anonymous, just one desperate voice in a sea of usernames. I didn't even give details, just a general idea of what I'd found and how trapped I felt. I thought maybe I'd get a few sympathetic replies, maybe 1 or 2 people who could relate, but what did I get? Changed everything. The comments came flooding in, hundreds of them, and they weren't just kind, they were practical. One woman wrote, "There's a shelter near every major city. Call 211 from any phone. It connects you to local resources, even if you don't know what to ask for." Someone else listed steps to open a bank account without a spouse's permission. Use a different mailing address if you can. P.O. boxes are your friend. Some shelters even offer mail services. One person shared a life-saving tip. If you go to a grocery store and say you're in danger and ask to use the phone, most employees are trained to help. You don't have to explain, just say it's urgent. Others offered legal advice, how to protect your child, how to document financial abuse, what to say in court if it ever came to custody. But the ones that got me, the stories, strangers who had been through the same thing. One woman said she found out her husband had a second phone hidden in his car. Another said her partner emptied their joint bank account when she left, and she had to start over with nothing. A third said she stayed quiet for 5 years before escaping in the middle of the night with her toddler. And yet, they all survived. They rebuilt. They got apartments, jobs, and new lives. They healed. Some even found love again. Reading their words, it felt like getting handed a flashlight in a pitch-black tunnel, because until that moment, I didn't realize how alone I was. There are thousands of women out there who've been exactly where I am, and they're proof that you don't have to stay stuck. Now, every time I feel scared or unsure, I go back and reread those comments, because they remind me that even when it feels hopeless, there are people out there who care, people who get it, people who will help. They reminded me I'm not weak, I'm surviving, and soon I'll be free.
Just in case it comes down to court, and I'm starting to think it will, I've been documenting everything. Every word, every outburst, every time he talks down to me like I'm some stupid, helpless woman who should be grateful he puts food on the table. Every time he slams a door, every time he vanishes for hours without saying where he's going. Every night he says he's, quote, working late and comes home smelling like a stranger. I've been keeping notes, quietly, carefully. I've got screenshots of his texts, emails, bank statements. I've been taking pictures of anything suspicious. Receipts, the gas mileage on his car, the names of contacts in his phone that don't match the people he claims they are. I now have a private email address, a locked Google Drive, 2 USB sticks, one hidden in my purse, one in the freezer behind the frozen peas. Because if anything happens, someone needs to know the truth. He thinks he's in control. He thinks I'm blind or dumb or too scared to fight back. But he's wrong. I'm not just sitting here crying into my pillow anymore. I'm not waiting for someone to save me. I'm not letting him rewrite the story and paint me as the crazy one when it all comes out. Because I know how these things go. I've read the stories. I've watched the movies. The moment women speak up, the moment we say, this is what he did, they turn it around. They say we're bitter, that we're lying, that we made it up out of revenge. Well, not this time. Not with proof. I've got dates, times, files. I even downloaded an app that automatically records phone calls. I set up motion sensors in the baby monitor in our daughter's room, just in case he ever tries something when I'm not around. He doesn't know any of this. He doesn't know that the woman he thinks is weak has been quietly building a case against him. He thinks I'm just playing house, but I'm playing chess, and I'm 5 moves ahead, because I know exactly what I'm doing now. And when the time comes, I won't just leave. I'll leave with receipts.
The other night, my daughter looked up at me with those big innocent eyes and asked, Mommy, are you sad? She's 4 years old, barely tall enough to reach the kitchen counter. She still says spaghetti like sketty. She still needs help tying her shoes. She still believes monsters hide under her bed and that Band-Aids can fix anything. She shouldn't even know what sadness looks like. She shouldn't have to ask that question. And yet, she sees it in me, no matter how much I try to hide it, no matter how many fake smiles I stretch across my face or how many times I say, I'm just tired, baby. She knows, kids always know. They feel the tension in the air. They hear the silence between the slammed doors. They watch us more closely than we think. And that's when it hit me. Staying isn't protecting her. It's hurting her. Because one day, she's going to grow up and fall in love. And I never want her to think that love looks like silence, or fear, or pretending everything's fine when it's falling apart behind closed doors. I don't want her thinking it's normal to flinch when someone raises their voice. I don't want her to accept apologies that come with cold eyes and empty promises. I don't want her to settle, sacrificing, shrinking. So I stopped telling myself that I was staying for her. I stopped thinking that it was better to give her 2 parents under one roof, even if it meant growing up watching her mother slowly disappear. because love should never look like survival. I want her to know what real strength looks like. And right now, that strength means walking away, even if I don't have all the answers yet. It means packing a bag and whispering, we're going on an adventure when the time comes. It means showing her with every step I take that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. She is my reason. She is my fuel. And when I doubt myself, when I wonder if I have it in me, I look at her and I remember that she's watching, and I will not let her grow up thinking this is what love is supposed to be. Every morning I watch him. I watch him shuffle into the kitchen like nothing's wrong. He pours his coffee like he's the perfect husband. Add just the right amount of creamer, stir it, take that first sip with a sigh, like he's earned it. Then he leans in and kisses me on the cheek. He does it casually, thoughtlessly, like it's just another box to check in his morning routine. He scrolls through his phone at the table while I get our daughter ready for preschool, laughs at memes, checks the weather, responds to texts that I now know aren't always from work, and through all of it, he has no idea. He doesn't know. I've seen the videos, clear as day, burned into my memory. He doesn't know I found the folders, the passwords, the evidence. He doesn't know that his perfect little system of hiding things under coded labels has fallen apart with one click. He thinks I'm still in the dark, still the naive, dependent wife who can't make a move without him. But every morning, while he drinks his coffee and scrolls TikTok, I'm slipping a little further out of his grip. He doesn't know I've got backup files, that I've hidden copies in places he'll never find, that I've memorized account numbers, write down contact info, researched divorce laws in my state down to the letter. He doesn't know I've talked to shelters, or that I have a burner email where I've been applying for jobs. He doesn't know that every night, while he snores beside me, I lie awake planning, running through the escape plan in my head like a script. One morning, very soon, he'll wake up and it'll be quiet. Too quiet. No child's laughter, no sound of coffee brewing, no woman moving around the kitchen pretending to love him. He'll check the laptop, his precious folder maze, and it'll be empty, wiped clean. Just a blinking cursor and cold silence. The woman who used to beg for his attention, gone. The wife he thought would never leave, gone. The daughter he thought he'd keep under his roof forever, gone with her mother. Far away from the lies, far away from him. He'll be left with an empty house, an empty folder, and all the mess he made. And I'll be gone, finally free. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I don't know if I'll get full custody of my daughter, or if I'll have to fight tooth and nail for the right to protect her. I don't know what kind of judge I'll get. I'm not sure if my evidence will be sufficient. I don't know if I'll have to relive every detail in a courtroom packed with strangers. I don't know where we'll sleep the first night after we leave. Will it be a shelter, a friend's couch, a tiny apartment that smells like old carpet? I don't know how I'll afford groceries next month, or gas, or diapers, or a cheap laptop so I can keep applying for jobs. There's a mountain of unknowns ahead of me, and it's terrifying. But you know what? I'd rather face with shaken hands and an empty wallet than spend one more day pretending in this house. This house is where I have to play dumb, smile through betrayal, cook meals for a man who has stripped me of trust, dignity, and freedom. And I'm not staying in a home that's just a trap with curtains. I'm not raising my daughter in an environment where manipulation wears the mask of love. Because I know what happens when kids grow up watching dysfunction. It sinks in. It becomes their blueprint. And I refuse to let that happen to her. She deserves to know that love doesn't come with secrets, surveillance, and fear. She deserves a mother who chooses truth over silence. And I deserve to be that mother. I've lived too long shrinking myself to fit into his version of normal, biting my tongue, walking on eggshells, and hiding parts of myself just to keep the peace. No more. Even if the road ahead is dark and messy and filled with setbacks, it's mine. I get to choose it. He doesn't get to choose for me anymore. And of course, I don't have all the answers. I'm scared. I'm underprepared. I'm stretched thin emotionally, financially, and mentally. But I'm not frozen anymore. I'm not afraid of what happens next. Because anything, literally anything, is better than living in a house where I have to pretend I don't know the truth. This is the moment I stop surviving and start moving forward. This is the line in the sand, and I'm finally walking away from it with my head high and my daughter's hand in mine. If you're in a relationship where you feel like you're constantly on edge, constantly walking on eggshells, pretending everything's okay, please hear me when I say this. You are not alone. You're not the only one out there putting on a brave face in front of your kids, cooking dinner like your stomach isn't in knots, smiling for the neighbors while your heart is breaking behind closed doors. You're not imagining it. You're not being too sensitive. You're not making it up in your head. If something feels wrong, it is bad. And no one has the right to make you feel powerless in your own home. Not the person you married, not the person you love, not the person you've built your life around. I know what it's like to feel stuck. I know what it's like to have no savings, no family nearby, no plan. I know what it's like to be scared of leaving and even more scared of staying. But I need you to understand something. You don't need a perfect plan to start making one. You just need to start. Start small, start quietly, start smart. Find a safe way to search for help at the library, on a friend's phone, or from a public computer. Look up women's shelters, local legal aid, community outreach programs. There are people out there who are trained and ready to help people in your exact situation. Create an email that your partner doesn't know about. Start gathering the necessary documents, including IDs, birth certificates, and any other required items. Even if it takes weeks or months, every tiny step you take is still progress. Every little bit of control you take back matters. And when that voice in your head says, "No one will believe me," remember this. You don't need their permission. You don't need them to understand. You just need to believe in yourself. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are not worthless. And this, what are you living through? It doesn't have to be the end of your story. There is life on the other side of fear. There is peace on the other side of silence. There is love, the real kind, the safe kind, waiting for you once you leave behind the person who only gave you pain. You are worth more than surviving. You deserve to live with safety, with dignity, with your head held high. So please, take the first step, even if it's scary, even if it's small. You still have a future, and you deserve to live it without fear.